Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of. I think we're calling these weekend editions because I primarily just look at crypto. We call them sort of our broiler chicken show. I think I actually hit the public button here, so we may actually be on YouTube and stuff. And I don't mind every once in a while just throwing a bone out to the public because I know that. I like to kind of see what the heck it is we're doing on the inside here on a daily basis. I'm going to see if I can just load this page up here just to make sure that it's working. So bear with me here just a moment. I think we That's interesting. So somebody decided they'd like to mute me. Let's try and refrain from muting the host. That usually doesn't go over very well. All right, so welcome back to another exciting episode. We've got a few people actually I've never seen before, so great to see you in the lounge. I guess you're new to the site. We've had just an absolute explosion in the site memberships, and I think it kind of makes sense. I see Mauricio's here from Chile. Number one priority is I have to, on March 3rd, I have to be in downtown Chile somewhere. Right? Did I get the date right? Oh yeah, but the wedding was on March 2nd, you idiot. So anyway, nice to see you, Mauricio. And you know, I was talking about this on the Coinigy show that we did recently. I thought that was I actually didn't even really intend to make it public, but you know, I really think it's actually a fun project. The beginning of 2018, I'd like to come out and visit people like Mauricio. And actually, just be curious, Mauricio, what do you think? I've worked with Mauricio now for about 2.5 months or so, pretty intensively. Do you think that you kind of look at the world a little differently after knowing me? Well, he types for sure. So that's good. And that's the irony of it all. It's so beautiful to watch. The level twoers. We just did some work with the futures markets, and we're exploring commitments of traders reports and stuff like that. And it's such a treat for me to get to know you individually and see your individual transformations. And those level twoers now, I think, they're basically professionals. They know how to behave, and it's so cool coming to class because you can even see it in their body language and their attitude and stuff. And I think Mauricio is well on his way. I think, if anything, and it kind of sucks for the public because I have a funny feeling the public just got bitch slapped there. But if anything, for new students that really bought into the concept of paper trading and bought into the concepts of convincing your subconscious of trade location and stuff, that what we just went through over there with the past couple months was just, it was an absolutely beautiful lesson. And those that understood the concepts of risk management really appreciated that. Ironically enough, risk management is probably, I would argue, the bigger of my two rules of investing that you need to follow to win is probably even more important than rule number one. But anyway, great to see everybody here. Brian always likes to have his little rhetoric and his little rants, and I see somebody actually, I had enough listening to this rhetoric. When the hell are we going to get to the damn fireworks factory? But it's good to see. I was really pleased to see this current batch of level oneers. We built some really, really kick-ass fucking traders. So impressive. I won't go into the broader market because this is sort of our broiler chicken show, and obviously, you know, I would even say probably the majority of our audience is very crypto oriented, and we've got a pretty big event coming up here in crypto. It was interesting. I watched Alex's Block Talk show last night. They had a big sort of meetup in Vancouver. and they're decentral. I don't know. Decontrol. I'm not quite sure what they call themselves nowadays. I think they got into copyright issues with that name. But those guys had a really interesting meetup. I hope you guys were able to watch that. I was posting and reblogging and retweeting and all that kind of stuff. Alex's show last night, and it was really interesting. You know, in a weird sort of way, when you live right inside the fishbowl like we do, you know, looking at this damn stuff 24/7, you kind of miss the big picture. And I was a little surprised at this meetup how they had to like literally go through what is a Bitcoin and what do all these BIPs stand for and all that. You know, we on the inside, we get so wrapped up in it day to day that we figure that it's just common knowledge for everybody. And actually, that was one thing that really jumped out at me is there was some, you know, that show, and I'm sure Alex recorded it, and you could probably go back and watch it. I thought it was just a really interesting. And then when they panned in the audience, you know, they had a pretty full room there. So anyway, long and short of it here is we did, and somebody was posting in the lounge this morning. We should probably pull that up. You know. I always think it's a good idea, and I can see that the room is filling up here. I always think it's a good idea, not because I'm like, you know, full of myself, because frankly speaking, you know, I actually don't have a very high opinion of myself. But I think it's a good idea that you guys, while we go through these shows, just have your journals out and handy, because every once in a while, Brian like will post something or say something, and then like 2 minutes later, I'll be like, oh, geez, I sure hope you guys wrote that down. That's such a good rule of thumb. You never know how and when these things come out. So, and that's actually one reason why I really like to sort of just do this ad lib kind of conversation, because it's interesting how just having open dialogue, you never know where you end up at the end of the day. But anyway, having said all that, I wanted to, and I think it's a good idea for us to understand that when we get significant fundamental events, they can often overshadow a lot of the short-term sort of noise and short-term, you know, cycles that we see, and in very quiet markets, for instance, we'd watch things like futures contracts expiry. We'd be contemplating about whether, you know, the big boys are going to mess with the kids and screw around with the tether to get them to freak out. I think, however, because this is such a massive fundamental event, that I think that this is probably what's dominating trade right now. As we've sort of, you know, and half the time I can never understand what I'm looking at. I mean, do I understand half of what this crap is? Not really, to be honest with you. And half the reason why I built this community is you guys are smart. You'll be able to look at this stuff and say, well, Brian, this means that, and this means that, right? And stuff. And that's why I have people like Alex in our life, right? To try and explain this stuff. And, you know, I may actually even say something here and you guys go, Brian, that's not quite right. So please, you know, if I say something that's like, you know, well, Brian, that's not quite right. You know, please feel free to correct me. If I understand correctly, and it was interesting, last night they had like a little countdown clock going and little sort of bars across the screen here. But if I understand correctly, this BIP 91 just activated. You guys are in the lounge here, so just correct. If anything, just go, yes, Brian, you're right. Or no, Brian, that's incorrect. So can we all agree BIP 91 just activated? Correct. All right, thanks, guys. And if I understand the story correct, the whole point of BIP 91 was to avoid this hard fork. But do I understand correctly? There was one mining operation that wasn't going to play ball. And is that where this BCS thing has come up from? I don't know. I'm trying to get a take on this. Frankly, like I said, half the time I don't understand. I think so. Chris Dallas says, I think so, yeah. You know, frankly speaking, I'm not going to bill myself as a crypto expert, and you know, I'm almost an audience member. But does it make sense, guys, that maybe this was almost like a buy the rumor kind of scenario? you know, looking at the price action that we saw last week, you know, it was just a straight like OK coin forwards, for example. You know, this was Miss Goldman Sachs's big level, you know, sub 2000. Remember on the weekly charts, this was a big 38.2 tag that we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for, right? And then we did nothing more than just rally right back up to the top of the range. And then also, too, I thought about this. If you were, if you knew that all these forking issues were coming up and that exchanges were going to halt transactions, money moves and outs in Bitcoin until all this is resolved, which frankly speaking, I think is the simplest answer to all of this. But would you not be encouraged to maybe close out positions? Maybe even close out short positions? Because keep in mind, when you have a short position open, technically you have open-ended liability. If Bitcoin does go to $500,000 a coin, like some, you know, people in the community believe is going to happen, and you had an open short from $3,000, or, you know, actually, well, I was so sad when I heard people that were short from like 2,000. That wasn't a very good idea. But even if you were, say, short from like, you know, 2,500 bucks, you just have an open short position. And these exchanges just simply say, you know what, we're freezing up Bitcoin, everything, you know, just tickety-boo, just let's all just, you know, halt trading kind of idea while we go through this event. That could leave you technically extremely exposed, eh? Does that make sense, guys? So I think we have to think about the mechanics of markets and price action. If anything, like I said, you know, given how sanguine and how negative the community was last week, I mean, it's remarkable to watch the sort of schizophrenia of this community. It's just stunning. It was weird. Off of this reversal, I was kind of looking for some sort of failure at this apex, and we just blew right through that. Eh? I was a bit surprised at that. But nonetheless, market does what the market does. You know, when we start getting up into these levels, then it becomes, and then we went after the stops. You guys remember? I gotta find that cartoon. It's one of the best cartoons I've ever seen. So in essence, you know, there's lots of traders, and you remember I shorted this level in here, and we took partial profits on the dump. There are lots of people that probably shorted that, thinking Bitcoin was going to go to zero or whatever, and just had their stop loss order sitting above these highs. And so when the market starts sniffing that out, this becomes a really big fat liquidity pool, and this and this. And so that's kind of what I think happened here, was once it got some inertia, oh boy, and then we went after the stop. So ching, 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 stops all trigger, ching, 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 ching. And then you notice, you know, and it's funny because, you know, in our school program, and I know there's people on the internet that give different names to these things, but to try and help students understand price action, I actually like to call this bar, the bar that made the high plus the preceding bar, the institutional fingerprint. It actually is exactly where the last bull was stopped. Somebody had to come in and sell here to stop this bull. And gee whiz, what a surprise. You'll notice the price rallied right into that area and then stalled. I think on, you know, and I do remember when we were going through this rally, we had quite a few site members who were like, okay, do we short now? Do we short now? Do we short now? Do we short now? And I was just like, you know what? You know, this could have been a runaway market. They could have just blasted this thing to new highs. And I basically said, you know what, give me a break to new highs, and I'm a bull. It's just that simple. And you notice that, of course, it stalled. Couple things also, too, that sort of support the idea of failure up at the top end of a trading range. You know, when a guy that's been at this, like John Bollinger, did any of you guys pull down that document and the retweet of his that I told you guys to grab? I know you know, in class yesterday, I was really pounding the table for them, every student in class to grab it. So all you regular site members and level oneers, you know, no difference for you. That was great stuff that John gave us. But you know, when a guy, I mean, you can listen to Brian for whatever he's worth. There's one guy goes, Brian, you know, my wife, I love the emails, and they're just the best, right? Brian Beamish says, you know, take Brian Beamish, whatever he says, with a big grain of salt, right? Whatever the fuck that guy says. But when a guy like John Bollinger starts saying, you know, this is looking really rangy, you know, I think it's worth your while to pay attention to what the guy has to say. And I thought I had a really, he had a cute little tweet he put out on Friday just saying, you know, I'm kind of thinking this is rangy. So, you know, institutional fingerprints. And then we do our good old-fashioned reload zone, right? This is just simply a fib study of this high back down to this low. If this is a range, then where are institutional players, high time frame players, where are they likely to step up to the plate and start, you know, hitting this thing? I think once they got the stopwatch all done, then the market just started to establish a little mini range up here. And you can clearly see if we go through this dotted line here, then that's actually going to confirm a massive like daily double top on this little tether. I think for the time being, we're just consolidating in this area right here on the tether. And you can see we're sort of up near the upper end of that sort of consolidation range. So on balance, and I had the previous posting we had was we had working stink bids, and the note here was if we get up to the top end of the range, I might let them have some. So I did. It was a cute little trade. We had nice bids working off of this AB equals CD 50% level. We got a bit lucky here with our fill. And the market just basically handed us $1,000 a coin for the trade. You know, on balance, you know, you remember Goldman Sachs lady? Mrs. Goldman Sachs, we're calling her now, right? She had sort of postulated that price action, and I suppose we could probably, I don't know whether we're allowed to do this or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. Probably get into trouble. But I was so impressed with that note that I thought I put it in the library. Does anybody have that that link handy? Anyway, I'll go find it later on. But it basically suggested something along these lines for our final push up into the stratosphere. So I am thinking something along these lines right here. And if we go down and I surfed across various forwards markets as well, and I noticed that, for instance, we had this double top within double top. There's the reload zone on the MEX market. And you can see we actually went and strapped on a nice cute little short here, just simply playing this top, and you can see the market's just basically sitting right at that level. I think what actually got me really motivated to get going on this short was this cute little M on our 4-hour RSI. And you could see what's interesting about this pattern is that really this whole structure is developing off of this previous trend line. And I noticed that Thomas just joined us. I don't know whether that's our Thomas. Yeah, it is. Hi, Thomas. We've been sort of chit-chatting a while about how this 50 line here seems to be supporting price action. So, you know, if we do an RSI trend line off of these lows, you can see that M broke that level. So we're on sort of the heavy momentum side. We haven't gone into bear yet, right? If we lose this 50 line, then I think we head into sort of bear stance. Right now, we're just sort of fishing against the top end of a range, just seeing if these double tops here trigger. And sort of as I had pointed out on that tether chart, I think, you know, oh, not that one. Too many charts, right? I'm thinking like, you know, we should probably maybe even just do like a little 50% retracement. Yeah, so something like that. Yeah, there's your 50%. I'm thinking a tag of the POC. Actually, and that was another thing I didn't mention. So we had institutional fingerprint, we have reload zone, and then notice the profile, right? You can see clearly where value is. And we all know who this guy is, right? And it'd be so funny if he ever watches these videos. He'd be like, "I don't look like that." But the funny thing is actually when you go get his picture off of the internet, you know, because everybody's picture's on the internet now. He actually does kind of look like that. But who's that? Who can tell me who that is? Oh, well, not Hog. He wouldn't appreciate that. Hey, Garrett, nice to see you joined us. Oh, thanks for throwing yourself on mute. The Hogue. That's right. And the Hogue, he loves to short above value. That's his bread and butter. Just simply looking for a revisit of the POC. And I think that's sort of how Goldman Sachs's theory goes here too. That and actually, I wouldn't even be surprised if Goldman Sachs themselves were a little surprised at the violence of this rally. But I'm actually a really big fan of those triangles as sort of consolidations. This is a really big sort of concept that we teach in the level 1 course. I'm not quite sure where we're actually supposed to draw the base of the triangle. But, you know, if this is some sort of natural, where's that 50% level right there? Yeah, if this is a very natural consolidation, then interestingly enough, we're sort of at the point where we should be looking for some sort of test back down into here. 50% level, maybe we go down as deep as reload zones, I don't know. You can kind of see the profiles a little bit heavy on the upside, a little bit light on the downside here. Could we use some business down in here? Well, I think it's natural. Could we see a little fuckery? Fuckery? Is that such a term? Up through here tonight, just to play with these highs? Sure, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I posted that GS chart just above. Okay, cool. So we can say that Casey can get into trouble now if somebody gets angry at us. Yeah. So that's yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. Do you see this back and forth here that she drew? That's sort of what I'm thinking has to happen. It's if I was a betting man, that's what I'd be thinking is going to happen here. So, and really, you know, as I had posted in the blog this morning, really consider these trades because we're long so much Bitcoin, right? And we're long so much Bitcoin through the altcoins as well. You know, we've done the NBT and the SBD and the GOLD proxies, you know, long proxies as sort of measures to try and protect our butt as well. But just consider these, if anything. We're just probing against the top. Not a bad idea for us just to take some measures here, just to protect our butts, right? Call it a hedge, call it just, you know, just in case all hell breaks loose. You know, if this thing's a rip roaring bull, then just go and take out these highs. Totally fine by me. And it'll make the conversation really simple. And interestingly enough, if I go and sell, buy like, you know, whatever coins we sold back and I have to bite this number, I'm not going to worry about that. I won't. You know, what I'll probably do is let this thing pop, see a little bit of a consolidation, and then go and, you know, if I get a bullish resolution, then go and strap the tethered coins on right now. But, you know, prudence being, what do they say? How does the cliche go? Something about prudence. Anyway. I think it just makes sense that we had to step up here and just, you know, maybe lighten the load a little bit and just throw on some hedges to protect our butt. One market actually that's really interesting to me right now, and I think it'll be the tell as to whether crypto, sort of the broader space, comes back or not, is you guys notice that Ethereum is putting up one hell of a fight here, right? And it's interesting how over the past week or so, people have kind of lost interest in sort of, you know, I used to go on Twitter and it's like every second tweet was ETH this, ETH that. I think if anything, what's happened here, and if you want to play this story, it's not a bad little setup. You guys see how they've created basically a narrow sideways channel here? You can quite literally see the war zone And what a coincidence, it's right off of the bot entry level. Isn't that sick when that happens? It's like literally they're waging a war. The bulls and bears are at war here right off of exactly the level that if it does resolve bull, right, that's where, you know, if you're a bull, that's where you got to take your shot. It's a tough trade. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is an easy trade at all. It's not like just a layup. If anything, I think the megaphone pattern that we talked about previously is at work. And interestingly enough, check out this, right? If we just play connect the dots, boom, 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 basically that's almost projecting that AB equals CD is the final tag of the megaphone. And what's interesting is if that's the case, actually, you know what happens here? Usually with the megaphone is it goes, and I can never get these count right, but I think it goes 1, 2, 3, but I think, yeah, I think I have it backwards. It might be like 1. Oh, I gotta turn this magnet off. And it, you know, as I said, I'm not the best at trading a megaphone. We used to have a site member, Greg Pop, who used to absolutely love these megaphones. Maybe it goes like that. No, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I've got the count completely wrong. Don't quote me on that. That's just a mess. But anyway, it goes boom, boom, boom. And I think what ends up happening here is that the trade actually sets up there. And what a coincidence, that'll be right into a reload zone. It'll be right up against an AB equals CD target. And it actually sets up for a dump all the way down here. So let's see what happens with ETH. This is fascinating stuff. And we know, right, that there is one gentleman. I haven't seen him on the site too much lately. He's either on vacation or he's just lost interest in my offerings, and that's fine. You know, people come and people go. But I do know that we're watching this AB equals CD target. Maybe that's how that finally gets validated. So really interesting. Let's watch how ETH plays out here. I think you might even get a nice little push up here, you know, especially if Bitcoin comes apart and people are running into other coins out of safety. This thing might catch a bid in that regard. But this thing ain't out of the woods yet. There's still a lot of action that could happen here. And I find it really interesting how things have gone very quiet in this space. Okay, so those are really the only things. Well, I mean, there was a couple names. One of our superstar little new traders here. Well, I'm so absolutely, that's interesting. KCC says, can we talk about moon landing now? All right. All right. ETH is a scam. All right. Is that you over there, Casey? Are you at both places? I posted the GS chart of both. All right. No. Oh, that's somebody else. KCC. KCC. Oh, that's freaky. Oh well. Okay, so there was a couple people on the site that really wanted me to look at stuff and just simply give you my 2 cents. And you know, I'm just another trader. I try to follow the same sort of principles day in, day out. But please understand, guys, I'm just another schmo in the market just like you, and all this is my 2 cents. All I can tell you is my opinion. And of course, you guys know what I think generally of people's opinions. So I will say, though, that we have one really cool new site member. So impressed. This guy just picked up on this skill set really, really quickly. And he was in the lounge. And, you know, this is half the reason why I build this site is because I totally believe in the 1 + 1 = 3 principle. You know, Jeremy found us that little AMP idea the other day, and yeah, it was performing pretty well. I can't complain. The market's moving nicely in our favor. And Kevin was in the lounge this morning posting this, saying, hey, guys, this looks pretty promising. Frankly speaking, I liked it so much. And, you know, I tweeted it out. If anything, guys, this is sort of the hallmark of venture capital. You know, the sad part about it is we all know exactly where the public was all jazzed about this thing, and they all got wrecked, right? And that's exactly what's supposed to happen. But you know, when I look at this, do you guys see the structural bottom down in this area here? I mean, this is really where the coin broke out, if you will. You could argue that, you know, this zone in here is like the super duper cheap zone. And anybody who was working bids in here, I think they got rewarded against these old highs. But, you know, even for people that are just like, you know what, Brian, that's kind of like catching a falling knife, very difficult, very stressful. I just want nice, simple tools that I can use to identify location. That's, you know, just generally going to keep me out of trouble. If we go off of the entire range, the interesting thing is prices move so far that we create a reload zone in this area. And I'm wondering whether people got goaded into pulling the trigger through here and then got their hearts broken. Now, you guys remember I had talked about this recently. I think this is really important. If you see the bottom end of a range like this, and then you look down and you see, wow, there sure is a whole bunch of open air down in there. This could be a little bit dangerous, right? If anything, this is kind of where, you know, the difference between the artist and the scientist when it comes to trading. You need to respect the fact that, you know, this might be a little bit dangerous considering there is the old high. Maybe, you know, we'd do something like we'll even just go off of clotheslines. And now when we do that, we paint a reload zone a little bit lower down in here. And then what we want to do is we want to just sort of say, you know, ask ourselves, do we have sort of like confluence of ideas? You know, because remember, we don't ever really want to take a trade off of just one reason. What I really like, and this is sort of a shark kind of talk setup, is if we can get the 78.6 to align with previous market structure levels, becomes really, really valuable information. And I get the feeling that's sort of what happened here. Was this open air pocket was a little bit of a trap, which is a shame. They brought the market down, and you know, if we go off original levels, like we said, they did actually bring it down into this reload zone. Can you see that? Right, and 78.6 taggers, wow, they just made out like bandits. But this was nothing more than just a trade. I might have even been able to get a double, yeah. So that 1190, you could argue the market actually worked up to triple that level. That was the trade. Once that's done, these guys that bought in this area originally, they're sitting on either free coins or, you know, basically their cost basis is minimal. All right, because they're forcing themselves to take profits on the way up. So then they can start, you know, they'll bring the market back down against these lows. Wicks and tails like to be eaten, right? And they can really start to mess with the public. And I get the funny feeling that's exactly what happened here. They kind of like manufactured a bottom. Let's see if we can get people to go long. And then boosh. So, you know, if you were trading this, and actually this is really going to be a testament to whether you really are a trader or just a wannabe. If you were trading this, you had better have gotten the hell out on this breakdown right here. If you found that, well, I was thinking about trading this, but then I just decided, oh, to hell with it. I'm not going to follow my trading plan. I'm just going to hold on to the position. If anything, we guys, you know, you really need to look in the mirror because you're only as good as you are following your trading plan. You can't sort of con yourself. So, you know, if you were trading this, you'd have to book that as a loss. Then patiently wait for, you know, new signs of bottoms. I do like this trade location a heck of a lot better than up here. And also, too, you haven't seen any sort of quick whipsaw like they got here, where the guys who actually did buy this clothesline reload zone, they're already taking profits. I think that they are actually building a trade right now here. It's a really interesting chart. And so with that said, you know, we sold a whole bunch on the way up. Actually, I don't know whether I was actually in this one. I think I was in it. I have to go look in the database. If I wasn't, you know, you probably could see the logic of where Brian would probably be wanting to be a buyer and then selling halves on doubles, right? If anything, this is probably a really good example of the second car kind of concept. So, you know, if you did take profits on the way up, You want to get reinvested in the coin, right? I think the market's telling you finally now, all right, I think it's time for us to maybe start doing some shopping. And so as you can see, it says bid working. That's exactly what I'm doing. I like a buy of this thing down in here. It's a cute little story. This is one that I think is worth taking the risk on. I don't know about taking a shot on something like this. This is really kind of no man's landy to me. And I know that there are some site members that are, oh yeah, fundamentals are awesome. But if anything, can you sort of see that same thing that we just saw a moment ago? Where you can see the original sort of range breakout here. Everybody see how the market bottomed right here, broke out. You can see how important this level is here. And here we are, you know, the market's put in a bottom, sort of mid-range. They've worked it up here. You know, the traders that did buy off of here, they're probably sitting on fat profits now. If they didn't already sell, they're probably looking to maybe even get a rally up here. But this area looks very dangerous going forward. So just be cognizant of that, okay, guys? Here's one that I thought was worth taking a little nibble on. Did a little bit of buying on this. Same sort of principle as that last one that we looked at. You can see the little W. And I do like the fact that we're coming in against these previous lows here. We might have to do some more swimming down in here, but I kind of like nibbles on this one. So I think we did a little bit of buying on that. Same thing with the AMP, right? Hopefully you guys can see a reoccurring theme here. You know, and sadly, it's so typical capitalism. It almost makes you sick to your stomach. Beautiful bottom, big run up, horrendous crash, beautiful little structure. You think Brian's going to be buying into a name like this? Right? That's almost like our bread and butter. And the cool part about it now is they built the price up here a bit. It actually could take a bit of pain here just to come back to our purchase price. So a little bit of a cushion built in here. I wouldn't, you notice the price action here though, hey, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to see that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you remember the dash, right? I still think dash is really the best leading indicator here. It's about a month or two ahead of everybody else. If you want to kind of get an idea what your coins are going to look like, can you guys see that we're doing sort of like this on a lot of coins right now? I got a funny feeling we're going to top out and we're going to come back down. We're going to test these lows. So on all the names that we looked at, you don't have to chase them. Just throw your bids in off of the bottom end of the range and just be patient. I really think that's the kind of market we're in right now. Okay, so let's go on over to the site and let's just spend some time going through some of your requests. Question is, where the hell's that page? One of these pages. One of these pages is not like the other. Is it this one? Yeah, there we are. BCY, please. There you go. I think what I'll do is I'll put this over here, so that way I can watch it. Let's go here and here. So, all right, so Tim, there is your dash. So it's stuck in no man's land. Would I be a buyer here? No. Would I be a seller here? Nah. Sort of just trapped in the middle of a range. They did have some fundamental news about them being added to the Apple store as a payment method. So, you know, I think if anything, you know, summer rallies, I'd be looking for a test of the top end of the range. And shouldn't shock us to see the bottom end of the range held up nicely here. So I think that's what she looks like right now. And right now we are playing cat gift ping pong. All right. That's probably what I would be thinking about dash. And of course, we'll throw on our indicators. And looking a bit heavy. Bear momentum divergence. Watch out. And you can see Willie's slowly rolling over, cleaning himself up. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a tag of the 200 SMA here. All right, what's next? Here you are. Bush. Beautiful bottom. Wow, just fantastic bottom. If anything, great analogy of wicks and tails like to be eaten. Can you guys see how they left this tail open here and they had to bring price all the way back down right to that level and put in the bottom? Big rally. Woohoo! Making lots of money. Looks to me to still be in cleanup mode. It's nice to see that you can see price momentum is trying to bottom here. I don't really see any buyers here, though. I think if anything, kind of like Dash, just sort of stuck in no man's land right now. Could very easily go either way here. Suppose if you're hunting location, right, you can see how we're playing with Mountain Man right now. Here's a great example of why I think you guys should wait for 78.6s. So venture cap, 200 SMA, 78.6 in the original market structure bottom. So, you know, yeah, not really the best trade location. Suppose if you're looking at lower time frames and you're trading on momentum, probably watch for this trend line to be broken. Yeah, so you can see how it did it. Now, if it can't resolve bullishly, and you know, on the site we have the who can name the site that if the setup if we get a bullish structural formation on the other side of this trend line resolution, we take the trade. Does anybody remember what that's called? Why we call it that? Who knows? Really? Nobody? Gee whiz. Anyway, that's a setup that we had to follow. Hey, there you go. Thank you, Casey. And, you know, the bottom line here is I think it makes it pretty simple in the market's eyes. You can see this is what we call a narrow sideways channel. All right. You can see the top of the channel, bottom of the channel. This is a daily chart, too. So actually, it's kind of cool how it's just consolidated nicely here. Probably driving, you know, if you own AUR, it's probably driving you crazy right now. But really, I would say the resolution of this range, probably that high to that low. If you were a momentum player, you just go with whatever signal. Sell on a break of the low, and it means that we never did resolve bullishly. And notice how the trend line is right back against the 200-period moving average. So if we lose this level, we're probably going to go zipping down into there. If, however, we can resolve bullishly, then the moving averages become support, and you know, a breakout above that, risk against the bottom end of the range. Cute little risk-reward setup, and what you really want is to just make blast off on some serious volume. So interesting, really tight battle here. So hopefully that helps you understand what's going on with your AUR. Someone says, can you explain briefly how to get out of the bot, taking profits and moving stop limits up? Well, you know, I won't go into too much detail. My suggestion to you is to pop on over to the site and go wherever the hell the site is. It's one of these windows. Nope, not that one. Is it this one? Hey, there it is. And if you go over to the library and go into setups, we have a YouTube video explanation of the bot setup. And we also have a bullish bot and a bearish bot. The long and short of it is, just really simply put, this is a play on a sort of on an anticipated harmonic pattern. This isn't a harmonic setup. Right? Don't kid yourself. It's not harmonic setup. It is anticipating a harmonic pattern developing. And all it really wants to do is, if the market is doing an AB equals CD, then it recognizes the first A to B portion of the setup, and it anticipates that there be some sort of low established to establish the second leg of the AB equals CD. And if we can get some sort of bullish market structure off of an extreme point off of this pullback, then we can justify trying to play that anticipated AB equals CD. And the bot itself just takes that C to D leg and breaks it into quarters, 25%, 50%. We don't have 75 on here. But in essence, each of the levels represents something to the bot. The 25, right? Ideally, you want to have, nice structural support to justify you going long off that level. And I like to look for 3 lows to risk against. So you can sort of see the 3 lows here that the market's put in. And, if I do have that, then I'm just going to basically buy the 25 level and I'm going to risk against a break of this low here. If we hit the 50% or we hit half of this anticipated AB equals CD move, this might roll over and it might not be an AB equals CD after all. It might actually turn into a head and shoulders where the market comes up. This is the head. It took out that shoulder. It has to come back to the neckline and then carve out, the right shoulder and then collapse. So the simple rule with the bot is if we do get a move to the 50% level, you're best just to simply move your stop to scratch. And if this thing craps out, then you just walk away at scratch. If, however, there is further inertia and we break this 50%, then the odds are that we're going to actually replicate that up to the 100%. Some traders that I worked with over the years, they like to have this move stop to trailing rule in the bot. So that way it's not just, because keep in mind, even at this level, your stop should be at scratch. There are other traders that just simply say, there's been too many times where I see the market come down here and my move stop to trailing gets busted out, but it never does hit the scratch level, and then it zips right up to 3-to-1. And I end up like booking a 1-to-1 profit when I could have very easily had 3-to-1 if I just left the stop at scratch. This is more that conversation about you need to get good at using your tools, right? Being able to draw fibs very quickly. And keep in mind, this isn't technically a fib. It's like a bastardization of a fib. You need to be able to understand market structure. You might even want to throw indicators in here to show you signs of divergence or at least momentum confirmation, whether it be price or volume or volatility metrics. That's entirely up to you. And Stuart, I'm still waiting for your little 1-pager on Keltner channels. Eh? Are you still working on that stuff? Do you still use Keltner channels? Yeah, so remember a month or 2 ago, I asked you just to put a little summary on that together, because we're putting together a volatility measures module for the school. So anyway, Stuart is our Keltner channel expert. So anyway, look for that contribution from him down the road. But the point here is that, and how many reasons should we have to consider taking a trade? Does anybody remember? That's right. Thank you, Casey. You could, if anything, look at the bot as your trade location tool. If this is a trend continuation and it corrects no more than, no less than 33 to no more than 66, and it sets up off the 25 level, it's a great trade location tool. And it just basically tells you all the levels to hunt for. 3-to-1 risk reward. You do bang out even 50% wins at 3-to-1, you're sitting pretty. Anyway, the point of the matter here is, step 2, we like to have some sort of indicator confirmation, whether it be volume or price measures or volatility metrics. That's up to you. And then step 3, right, and that's this whole premise of the 3 key lows, is I want to see some sort of structure to frame the trade. Where am I going to get in? Is there any sort of, institutional fingerprints? So does it make sense, guys, that this is actually an institutional fingerprint right here, just like we showed you on the Bitcoin chart? Retail was dumping this thing, dump, sell, and somebody said, no, enough down, you bottom here. So in essence, I'm going to let this guy, and then this guy here, same thing here, and then this little one here, I'm going to let, and then these guys here, I'm going to let these institutional fingerprints defend my trade because my stop's going to be below the 3rd previous low. So I hope that helps you understand the bot. The final ingredient, what you're talking about when we hit the 66% level and where do you start trailing stops, there's a number of different measures you can use to help you trail stops. ATR was the tool that I like to use when I was day trading, and just simply an ATR expansion, price moving beyond the average true range of the given time frame. That's a good way to trail stops when using the bot. You could use simple things like market structure. Been on a few bot setups recently on the site. I've just been simply using market structure to trail stops. You know, there's a number of different strategies that you can use, and really it's just a question of what are you comfortable with. Remember, and I sort of said this earlier, but I didn't really go into detail. Remember, trading is really more of an art form than it is a hard science. You got to get good at using your tools, right? Good at using your trade location tools. You got to get good at using your momentum, volatility, price momentum, volume momentum tools. You got to get good at understanding price structure and using levels to validate stops, things like institutional fingerprints, letting the big boys defend your trades, understanding M's and W's. Then once you get good at using these tools and putting the various tools into practice and looking for that confluence, where you have 3 or 4 independent reasons all for considering taking a trade, what we call a setup. That's, you know, and it was interesting, even in the lounge this morning, you know, I do believe Kevin has gotten to the point where he is good with these tools. And now I'm starting to see the artist in Kevin emerge. He's a bit of an industrial artist, I think. Banging his head to Metallica, woo, riding his motorbike, he's a shark. I know it doesn't really matter, you know, but that is the artist who is Kevin. You know what, one person who I've really watched, and it's funny, students who actually pay me money, they listen to me and they learn this stuff because they're paying me money and I'm telling them what to do and they're doing it, and it's beautiful to watch them go through that process. What's really interesting in life is that the people that don't actually pay me for this but are just sort of, they have my ear, it's interesting to watch the path that they go down. And eventually, if they do the exploration process correctly and sort of piecemeal this stuff correctly over time, it's actually beautiful to watch them express their artistic nature. So, you know, I'm kind of giving a shout out to Sjord here, because I've watched how he has, in his own way, discovered his artistic nature in the tools that he's decided to build and use to analyze price action. And it's beautiful to watch his own particular artistic expression. I think on balance, for everybody new to trading, you know, number one, you absolutely have to respect risk management. And if anything, what I really respect are the students and the new people that come to me and that say, I'm going to risk 0.001 BTC on a trade, which is basically a negligible amount of money. As Ivan says here, you do have to have some skin in the game. I always say you need to have skin in the process. Okay. I do understand that, you know, some people have to have a little bit of money on the line just for them to stay interested. I would prefer that you paper trade to really learn the process, but nonetheless. But the people that start off this game understanding how critical risk management is, and to just simply take the trades so that you're not stressed out about the money, you're just more concerned about the process and learning the 3 steps and getting really good at expressing your artistic nature through those 3 steps. Those are the winners at this game. I tell you guys, if you're new to the site, you know, you just joined and you're like, well, I want to get my 30, 40 bucks, you know, monthly membership out of that. That's the shit right there. You know, if you have to go back and just listen to what Brian said there over the past 2 minutes, And you know, like Jamie does, like take little sound bites out of these videos to make fun of Brian. Well, and I don't mind that. Make fun of me all you want. But that's the shit right there. You know, I don't know. Does that resonate? How about some of my like veterans here? Do you think you've gone through that process? Ivan says you need to feel what happens to you when you go through July 11th. What was July 11th? Was that a big Bitcoin face rip down? It's like a market's just parked here. Is this July 11th? Oh yeah, that was all this mess. Huh? Yeah. You know, if anything, what I would prefer is that you actually just put your money away. Okay, sorry, I got off on a rant there. I hate when I do that. Where were we? Can't remember what we were looking at. Oh yeah, the AUR. This is a cute little coin. I think if anything, you know, the traders out there, keep an eye on this, right? If we break the top, you got to trade. If we break the bottom, you got to trade. And you can kind of see they're really pressing the lows here. So I don't know whether we really want to get into too much of shorting these altcoins. I'm not really a big fan of it. And I noticed this isn't listed on Polo. So I don't think shorting this thing is really a trade. If I was thinking about buying, I really like this 200 SMA against the original structure right down in here. I guess, and really a nice little tag of this trend line. That looks sexy to me. Okay, who is next on the list? So AUR. Oh yeah, that's right. We went on and talked about the bot for a while. Andres, I don't know whether you're in the lounge here or not, but I hope that helped answer your question. Trump and the dollar. Well, you hear me ranting about Trump and the dollar on a daily basis, Brian. And I wasn't talking to myself. This gentleman's name is Brian. It's funny when you see other people that are your name. So a guy like Stuart's pretty lucky because not too many people named Stuart. I run into Brian's. It's like Kevin in the it's like Stuart. Is that what it is? It's like Kevin in the lounge. I said, well, Kevin, you're gonna have to thank Kevin. That was funny. Brian being silly, sorry. Yeah, so, and Stuart's awesome. Beautiful spirit. Okay, so you know, I've given my rant about what I think's happening with the US dollar and Mr. Trump. Because please understand that, you know, somebody just posted in the lounge there a moment ago, it's business as usual. And I think that's exactly it. But at the same time, right, we have to understand we're traders. Market doesn't always move in this same direction forever. What the hell chart am I trying to load here? And I did notice that the currencies, actually they're not bad. So on balance, they're minus 33 on the medium term. Actually, let's make sure we're on the right day here. Oh, there we go. So they're plus 56 on the medium term, plus 66 on the short term. So we're not at any extreme levels. These currencies could still run a bit against the US dollar. And, you know, we've been talking a little bit about, you know, we're coming into the fear cycle apex. And look at what this damn Canadian dollar is doing. Jesus H. Christ, eh? So this is the one reason why I think that these commodities are going to go up into this cycle is the currencies lead everything. And I'm actually pretty pleased because we moved a whole shitload of money out of the U.S. when the Canadian dollar was nice and cheap, and we got it all sitting in Canadian dollars right now. So we actually made a really, really nice capital gain on that trade. Stuart, do you realize that? Yeah, we did actually pretty well on that currency trade. I don't think Julian has acknowledged that. The U.S. dollar isn't king anymore. Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, the irony of it all is that's what ends up happening is that money managers, all they do is they just shift their relative weighting from one area of the world to the other area of the world. And that's how actually, you know, real wealth is actually accumulated. Oh, good timing on that ding, whoever that was. Lester, it looks like you're connected a couple times. Maybe drop one of your alter egos. Oh, I see. Thomas left. Oh, bye, Thomas. So, where's our currencies? Currencies. Here we are. Australian dollar, what do you think? Should it be pointing up? Holy crap, look at that thing, eh? British pound, they're going through the Brexit right now, so I'd be a little bit leery about that. And it does look like it's up and down like a horse drawers. Canadian dollar, face rip straight up. And also, too, this serves Mr. Trump's agenda because Mr. Trump... All right, so I'm going to have to manually throw you on mute here, Lester. Boosh. Hopefully that solves the problem. You muted Lester, yeah. Oh, Mew Amran left the group. Thomas left the group. Oh, no. Come back. All right. Canadian dollar strong, Australian dollar strong. If anything, I'd really like to see the yen start to come back. Can everybody see the potential double bottom that's trying to form there? So, we've been talking about the yen at length in our daily briefs about this channel here. Really interesting. I think, if anything, I got a funny feeling the yen's about to rock and roll here. And I think, remember we had said earlier that actually, this serves Mr. Trump's agenda. This is exact, well, isn't that weird? Invalid symbol? I wanted to talk to you guys about this too. Let me look at the ETN. But it was really interesting, where if we look at Australian dollar going up, Canadian dollar going up, interesting how crude here has actually got a bit of a bear divergence here forming. I don't think it's confirmed yet. If we get a down day on Monday, that'll probably put a fork in her. But interesting how, there was one, gentleman that we had on. We had an AB equals CDs that looked like they needed to be hit on the crude itself at 42 bucks. Oh, there it is. Maybe that's, this is when we get that ultimate tag here. They might have set this market up here for a nice tank. And have you guys heard any news about, hurricanes in the Gulf and all that kind of stuff? It's been pretty quiet this year. Anybody? I don't know. Yes, no, maybe so. If we don't get some talk about hurricanes in the Gulf, oil prices could come off a big chunk here. And of course, we're all rah-rah bull gold. And I was actually quite pleased to see the gold is trying to hold on to the POC. You can see we're right at the POC. If anything, maybe, the momentum battle here was actually quite compelling. And given our, what we're seeing out of the Australian dollar, what we're seeing out of the Canadian dollar, interesting, Canadian dollar is more oil oriented. So I don't know whether oil breaks here or not, but I was actually quite pleased to see this gold rally right back up to the POC here. I don't know whether we have an 80% play working here or not, but it makes sense to me that, trades off of the bottom here. They've hit their objectives. So rock on anybody who strapped on some gold off of the bottom there. That was a cute little trade. Okay, so somebody asked about the US dollar. I think all of these are sort of interrelated to the US dollar. And, the problem here is, remember we looked at all these international currencies. And, of course, Mr. Trump's agenda, as a Republican, it's in his best interest to try and get the US dollar index down to service business. I'm a little surprised that, we're just not finding any traction here at 200% at this 78.6. That's a bit of a surprise. And I suppose one could argue, we could actually even start to look at the US dollar like this, right? Where that is one side of the pivot, and this is the other side of the pivot. So let's keep an eye on, 92 and change here. Oh, isn't that interesting? We also have some trend lines we're coming up against too. So it sure looks to me like US dollar, and if anything, they're probably going after this low here. Just like the Bitcoin chart we saw earlier. Does everybody see? And then we went after the stops. So just this move right here was a clean out of those stops. If this thing just keeps going, the next objective is going to be those stops. And then finally into this tail and to see if we really test those stops. So a whole bunch of liquidity pools just sitting underneath these levels. I think the market's going after them. And I was even joking in the lounge. I wouldn't even be surprised. It would not surprise me if we find out after the fact that Donald Trump has actually told the U.S. Treasury Department to actively and openly short the U.S. dollar. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. And I think we even saw news over the course of last week that he was going on about how NAFTA, maybe they're not going to renegotiate NAFTA, but what they're going to do is they're going to force the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso to rally, which in essence should correct the problem, right? Make Mexican and Canadian goods more expensive relative to U.S. goods, and then that trade situation balances itself out. Anyway, you shake it, right? I remember when we had this, I'm a little choked that we didn't try and do something through this pivot. But I don't think you can chase these markets now. Like, there's no way in hell. If I found out somebody on the site was actually going in and buying Australian dollars here or buying Canadian dollars here, I'd be like, take your money back. You're not listening to me. Go home. Right? Does that make sense? Anyone? You can't chase these markets here. Right? Refunding now. You can't chase these markets here. You're going to be tempted, but you can't chase them. You're not allowed to do it. Because one of these days, somebody might fart here and this thing just falls right out of bed. You can get your bids working. You can do your reload zones. You can hunt sharks, the whole shooting match, but you can't chase it. And so same thing here. You may be a US dollar bear, but if anything, you got to wait for this bounce. I could totally see a 38.2 test here, totally catch the US dollar bears off guard. And then, you know, maybe this thing is a bear and we crap out, but you can't chase the trade here. You're going to get your head handed to you. It's kind of like people who shorted Bitcoin at like $1,900 there a week or two, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's going down, it's going down, it's going down, it's going down. Then all of a sudden, round. I don't know where the market comes back and kicks you in the butt. Okay, let's move on. Somebody asked me to look at, and you know, please understand too, guys, that it may not be, you know, this thing crapping out and head down here and all these altcoins, kind of like some of the coins we've already looked at. This may not, the price coming down here may not be a function of this coin being a piece of shit. It might be because it's priced in Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes and breaks those previous highs and goes and tacks on another $1,000. And just for this thing to stay stable, equal, level, its price actually has to fall. So please be cognizant of that reality too. If anything, I'm really warming to the idea recently, a lot of these coins, you can actually start pricing them in US dollars. And somebody, I think late last week, asked me to do up a chart, and I did it against Bitcoin. It was sort of like, man, you know, here's a level here, here's a level here, blah, blah, blah. All right, welcome. Somebody just joined. If you could kindly throw yourself on mute, we would appreciate it. Let's see, who is that? Sean. Hello, Sean. Oops, and he's gone. Oh, that was fun. But please understand, you know, and and then the gentleman said, oh, no, but I'm tracking it in US dollars. And I was like, oh, okay, let's look at the US dollar chart. And the levels were so clear, it was ridiculous. So I think if anything over the coming 6 months or so, I think we probably transition from analyzing these assets relative to Bitcoin to analyzing them relative to US dollars. And that, in my opinion, is actually the smarter way to trade. I would prefer BTW usually has biggest volumes, BTC. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I just wanted to get off on that point that because this is relative to Bitcoin, this thing might have to fall in price simply because Bitcoin's running up. That happens all the bloody time in this space. So don't be heartbroken if you see this thing coming back, right? Hey, Stuart's giving you a big welcome back. And thank you, Casey. Casey's now, is Benjamin not here today? Casey's now our official mute captain. So if you find that Casey throws you on mute, please don't be insulted. It's just sometimes, and I see, I'll help you too, Sean. Don't be insulted. I'm just going to throw you on mute, and then that way you can sneeze and cough and swear at me, and nobody gets upset. Okay, let's see where we are next. So we talked a little bit about the US dollar. ETH inverted head and shoulders forming. Yeah, I kind of think ETH looks more like a bot here rather than a head and shoulders. But I could, I can understand that kind of thinking here. In a weird sort of way, I think that they flushed the public out, and gee whiz, everybody got really, really depressed. And as I said, I think if anything, we had the dead cat bounce, we had just a very normal consolidation, and this is kind of what I'm thinking Bitcoin has to do right now, is this kind of action here to come off of those highs. We, in essence, rallied away from this reaction low, and we've just gone sideways. And I think really on ETH, you can make it really simple, just simply play the resolution of this narrow sideways channel. And this is in euro terms. I suppose in US dollar terms, probably looks somewhat similar. Yeah, I'm thinking more bottish, right? In fact, I can actually see the bot setting up here. Actually, it looks even a little crisper here off of the US dollar. Boobity boom. Boobity boom. So I think the trade is going to be something along these lines. And if we clone that off of that low. Yeah, and it's same sort of thing as the euro, right? I find it fascinating how the market is literally setting right up off this 25 level and making this trade just a bitch, right? This isn't a nice, easy trade. This is going to be a real pain in the ass. Excuse my French. Sorry, Casey. I know Casey's got young ones. Every time I do that, he goes, "Oh, geez, Brian, you're killing me here, man." Sean says, I just joined an hour ago and looking around. All right, so Sean, okay, so Sean, you make the call. Are we buying or selling here? Come on, quick, quick. Let's go, let's go. Sell, all right. Actually, and you know what? We'll put it on here. Sean's made the call. And he's gone, what the hell are you doing to me? Anyway, we're having some fun. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to work my stop, but let's go with that. Let's see if we can get a 2-to-1 out of here. Actually, a 2-to-1 off of that. If we just hit that thing right there, boom. All right, so 2-to-1, we're going to risk against these highs. Actually, you got a cute little inside bar there to work with. Actually, that's not a bad little trade setup. What's that low? 230.56. What's our entry here? 230.48. Yeah, so what the hell? We'll say we'll play this inside bar. We're short from Sean's level. We're going to risk against these highs. We're going to gun for a 2-to-1. So let's see what happens. My hunch is it's a bull, but what the hell? Let's have some fun here. Back here, why don't we even put an alert out? Let's see if Sean's gone broke by the time the end of this video. So we'll put our stop up there, and we'll put an alert. And all right, welcome to trading, Sean. I'm sure he's going, what the hell is this? What's going on? Anyway, that's in essence what a trader's life is. I mean, pick a location, we're against highs, pick a structure. If we just had a nice little momentum divergence here or something, actually it wouldn't be a half decent idea. If you're right, you get paid relative to if you're wrong and you lose. But who knows? So we'll watch that through the day. We'll call it Sean's trade. Sean's trade. There you go, Sean. Welcome to the site. Bet you weren't expecting that. Okay, let's move on. Giving you my 2 cents on Ethereum. For whatever it's worth, Sean, I'd take the other side, but what the hell? Let's see what happens. Okay, who's next? Trump. MTL. What the hell is MTL? MTL. Bittrex, I guess. Yeah, it's still too early. Not really much I can say about this. I mean, really what you can see here is, and really this is exactly the price action, price discovery process. See a nice little triangle developing. So, it's a little bit early for me to really make a comment about this. I really need to see some more price action. But if we break up through the top of this triangle, break this high, I suppose you can just ride the inertia. And of course, if we break this low through the bottom here, lose this moving average, and that's a double top, and down she goes. And unfortunately, in this crazy market, I would be more inclined to look for the down on these new issues before I look for the up. Yeah, there's the trading range right out of the gate. You can see it's a very pretty consolidation. That looks like a reload short off of that range. This might be a reload long off of that range. And you can just see it's coiling, 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 coiling. And, you know, really simply put, you want to trade this on momentum. I don't have a problem if you just go and buy this double bottom breakout here, and you're going to risk against this low. And then you could zoom in a little tighter, and you could say, wow, you know what? I could buy this little double bottom and risk against this low. All right, does everybody see the W here? Looks like it confirmed. Actually, I think it's even off of that level there. So, you know, if you want to play this on momentum, I'm a trader, Brian. I got to trade. Traders got to trade, man. Well, there's a double bottom. You could take that trade. You got a few lows to work with and just risk against these lows. Well, you know, I would say maybe the odds are like coin toss, 50-50. The cool part about it is if this thing does break, you know, try and pay yourself 2-to-1, 3-to-1 risk reward relative to the amount of risk you're going to take. You know, I could very easily see something along the lines of, no, isn't. Right, buy the double bottom, going to risk against the lows, cute little trade, get your 2-to-1, 3-to-1. Actually, interesting how just a test of this high in the top of the triangle is a nice 2.5-to-1. Maybe don't be greedy, go like 2-to-1, something like that. If we do get that rally, look to sell half of the position, maybe even 3/4. Pay yourself for your hard work, right, and your stress. Move your stop to scratch on the remaining, and if it just fucking takes off, your drinks are on you. Does that make sense, guys? That's really how I like to approach these kind of trades. Anybody? Does that make sense? Do you see how traders got to trade these? Traders got to trade, traders got to trade. Actually, Sean, what we do is often in these daily briefs, I like to, in these broiler chicken shows, I like to give you a couple ideas to chew on. You know, really the question is, are you even at the stage to be even risking money in the marketplace? And, you know, not a bad idea just to mention this if you are a new site member, and we seem to have quite a flood of new people coming on the site on a daily basis. But if you are a new site member, best to pop on over to the library. And Sean, you with me? Right? Just simply click on this. I'm new. What should I do? And just watch these two videos. I'm new to the site. Where should I begin? And then if you're not a trader, you know, and you don't have some experience under your belt, I'm new to trading. What should I begin to do? Does that make sense, Sean? You know, you're using terms like due diligence. So I'm hearing that you got a bit of experience. Maybe you don't have to go down this road. So if anything, just watch this video. I'm new to the site. What the hell is this site actually going to even give me, and where do I find this stuff? Make sense? And anybody watching this that's new to the site, you as well. Is that, yeah? Does that make sense, Sean? You with me? Hello? Come in, Tokyo. All right. Let's keep moving this train forward. Who's next? MTL ICN. ICN. I mean, Sean, can you see here? We've given you a few ideas to chew on here, just even in this video tonight. And really, you know, and do your own due diligence. Do I like the name? Do I like the story? What I love, and you know, I'll say that in the intro video, what I absolutely love is I just love to load up the lounge first thing in the morning and just see what people are chatting about. And some of our traders are just like, well, I'm interested in this one. Thomas is, I don't know whether Thomas is still here or not, but he's pretty damn sharp on the pivots. You know, if you see Thomas posting a chart in the lounge, probably best to pay attention. Ian's a little sharp. I don't know whether Ian's posting a heck of a lot of charts these days, but man, that guy's got a sharp, sharp eye. So, my advice to new people is just, and, we have a lot of lurkers in the lounge that just simply, they don't even feel like they're at the stage where they can contribute, but they're just like, wow, I can't believe all the cool ideas that are just being bantered around in here. Well, yeah, Sean, I mean, what you have to understand. Hey, and there's Fjord. So, Sean, I think you ought to meet Fjord. Sean, you do need to understand, and anybody joining this site, you do need to understand that this is venture capital, right? Have you ever traded any bulletin boards, pink sheet stock? So that's the kind of environment that you're involved in here, okay? Everybody, and if you don't know this, you haven't traded those markets before, Sean probably already knows this. On every prospectus, every marketing piece of material from a bulletin board company that goes out, they actually have to write on the fine print in the document, the company directors are not legally obligated to tell you the truth. That is reality here. And the worst part about it, Sean, I don't even, you might even watch this space for a good few months, and you might even go, this is all crookery. I'm not investing my hard-earned money in this space. I'm going to wait until at least I can believe something that any of these people say. You have to understand, Sean, this is unregulated. I've literally seen just utter thievery in this space. Everybody, who's living in a Moby right now? Is anybody living in a Moby? Anybody here even know what the fuck a Moby is? If anything you want to learn about this space, Sean, go Google Mobies and a symbol ARCH. And it will, just go and study the story of ARCH and what happened there. And that will tell you exactly what you're getting involved in this space. That's why, earlier on, I was just like, ironically enough, our biggest job here is managing risk. That's probably our biggest concern in this space. So now Sean's going, gee whiz, thanks, Brian. I want my money back. Okay, well, fair enough, right? Proactive, right? What do they say? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. But if anything, Sean, my partner, and you just met him, but he just left, Sjord, is constantly on me about, aren't you supposed to be a rational investor? Aren't you supposed to be doing fundamental analysis on these ideas? So, a big part of our sort of investigatory process is to try and weed out, especially in the crypto space, the utter scams versus the relatively half-decent stories. And just a simple note, try and avoid exchanges like Yobit. That if you just do simple things like that, you can, and some of the marginal exchanges and some of their ideas, you can avoid a lot of the outright scams in this space. But anyway, as well, Fjord is working diligently away on building screener tools to give you guys better and better information by the day. I would also say too, and I think it's important that everybody understand this, I firmly believe, Coinigy, they're a half-decent site. I mean, just trying to get people that you can trust and that you have good intentions in this space is half the battle. So running into the Coinigy guys, I honestly believe they have good intentions. So just the fact that they're relatively honorable and they have good intentions and they're pretty open when you talk to them, there isn't any shenanigans, that in itself is half the battle. I think I just said that twice. Anyway, so anyway, it should be interesting, Sean. It sounds like you're brand new to the space. My advice to you is probably just take the next month or so and just watch what happens here. And if you're at the point where you actually have trading plans and you have allocated capital, you have sites and exchanges and wallets set up, start slow, just nibbles, right? Take really, really small bets just to really get the feel for the way this space works. All right, so who's next on the hit list? I'm a broker for BTC right now. Oh, great. Are you a what do you say? Are you a stock broker or a broke stalker? I was a broker for many, many years. Anyway, funny joke we used to have. All right. Who else should we talk about here? ICN. Did we ever get to the point of actually looking at that? Oh, I want to keep him on the screen. I like him. Oh, it's over here. ICN. Right. I don't see this trading on a major exchange, so that in itself is a little bit suspicious. I do see it's on Kraken. I suppose if you're a Kraken aficionado, I do have an account on Yobit. I suppose if I really liked it, I could go buy it there. You know, I mean, the interesting thing about, oh boy, yeah, see, this is, in my opinion, this is a bit dangerous trade location. I think probably what you're happening right now is this is what I like to call a moving average sandwich. So I think probably we've identified a trading range in here. It's probably going to compress between the moving averages for the next while. Remember we were thinking about that Dash chart and the similarities of Dash's price action, what I think is going to happen in this space for the majority of these coins going forward. All right, take it easy, Kevin. Oh, Kevin's gone. That's too bad. Well, all right, awesome. I sure hope, Daniel, you were taking profits on the way up. So, you know what, I'm going to fill my coffee up. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, so Daniel got paid. And, you know, quite often what we see happen in venture capital, right, is people who take down the paper. And in this space, it's called ICOs, right? When it comes to market, if you can catch the market in the friendly season, you know, how does the commodities pitch go? You buy your unleaded the middle of what? Who can finish that? Do we have any students here? These are all just general site members. Huh? Nobody knows this line? I used to be a commodity broker, right? When pitching people on the phone. No, buy in May. Oh, yeah, what? The line goes, you buy your unleaded the middle of February. You sell it the middle of May. You made money 9 out of the past 10 years. This is not really the best example because obviously this isn't crude oil. But in essence, can everybody see the seasonality of this market? It's so cliche. And the good part about it, right, is crypto is so volatile. You know, the irony of it all is you guys are looking at this market going, okay, well, this is it. It's, you know, we're never going to have this again. And the irony of it all is that this is just actually very normal. It's very business as usual. I think because of the cycle peak and all that kind of stuff, all those pressures, I wouldn't be surprised if this particular year is a little bit exacerbated. But on balance, it's just normal seasonality. So way to go, Daniel, on taking advantage of the ICO market and into a hot spring and making a pile of dough. Now, can you justify going and buying this here? Buying your, you know, this is probably one of Daniel's selling levels. Could I justify going and buying this coin right here? I think it's basically stuck in no man's land. I think we probably could make the argument. I don't know whether you have to go back off of the original low. That's a tough one. But there's our old buddy venture capital level 78.6. Probably even off of that low is the best one. So, and gee whiz, what a surprise. You know, you can see the original structure. You can see the 200 period moving average. You can see 78.6. I wanted to be a buyer. I'd sure love price down here. I don't think I could justify buying it there. So work your bids or wait for price to come down and give you a nice W and go from there. Right now, if anything, this is a good example, and see this a lot across a lot of markets. In essence, the altcoin market just got washed out, right? And people were just actually just like giving these away a week or two ago. It's done, it's over. Nope, got sent home by Brian. Oh, okay, not quite sure what that means. This is quite often, and if we did a fib here, what do you think the odds are that this is like 38.2 of this range? I bet it is. Oh, a little bit shy, so it could work a little higher. But the process of the market bouncing off of the pivot low back to the 38.2, this is, who do we attribute this to? Let's see if any of you guys can remember. Who do we attribute this 38.2 level to? And what do we call it? Mr. Bruchette? Close. Mr. Bruchette. First stop. Excellent. So, you know, we all as veteran traders, understanding Mr. Bruchette's message, for us to actually believe that this is a bull, we actually have to see this level resolved, right? Something like that would be nice to see. Considering 30 SMA, these previous lows, my hunch is we're in a bit of a trading range right here. Again, just more anecdotal evidence that, you know, probably not the best trade location. Maybe cool your jets there. All right, who's next? ETC. We had a little ETC bot that we were trading a couple weeks back, but that kind of fizzled out. Do we want to look at it versus the dollar, or do we want to look at it versus euro or Bitcoin? And we're on Kraken here, aren't we? So, I always like to go over to BitRX, old buddies. Yeah, really, if anything, what I see here is this kind of a tough one with this candle way up here. It sure looks to me like there's the top of a range up here. And probably this is a tough one too. I'm almost thinking there's the bottom of the range. This might even be like a midpoint pivot here, especially off of these highs. So, you know what? It almost looks like that's 50% of the range, right? So a little bit of ping pong here, I think. Nothing really for me to get excited about it. I'm not sure what bot. Can't remember. Actually, it might have been this boom, 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 boom. Can't remember off the top of my head. I have to pull the chart up. And it might have been the US dollar one that we were trading. But do I really see anything to get too excited about here? Not really. Anything with, you know, probably a higher time frame. You can see the original bottom. And if anything, you know, guys, I remember I've said this to you time and time again. You want to make this game really easy on yourself. Just try and hunt for these weekly W's. And trying to hunt setups in here and thinking you're buying value up here when really the bottom is down here. So there's nothing really for me to do on a name like this right now. Just a big hurry up and watch. You think of the LTC. Well, no, that was another one. We also traded the ETC. We had an ETC bot. Hey, we're taking tons of these things. If they work, great. If they don't, not going to be married to them. Just get strong out. Okay, and the last one, BYC. Let's see what BYC looks like here. At least that way I can say I was caught up. And I answered everyone. Well, that's a cute chart. Weekly, you can see a cute little W trying to come in there. You can see it tried to W before and then got bitch slapped. But not a bad level to be risking against right down in here. How many are out on this thing? 1.6 million, so very respectable, only 700,000 market cap. I really like these kind of ideas because somebody could come along. You see, like Dash is $1 billion or 100 billion, Ethereum $500 trillion, Bitcoin a gazillion dollars. Whatever. This thing here, quite literally, at these prices, somebody could come along and literally buy a crypto story, and you know maybe they have to bid it up to take a controlling position, but they could actually buy up this thing for relatively cheap. Maybe we might see a new controlling party come in and take a position here. You guys notice how the on-balance volume, people are actually net buyers of this thing through here? That's really interesting. I think probably off the lower time frames, if you wanted to sort of join the party, I love working bids off of 78.6. You can see how it stabbed down into the reload zone there. It didn't really give us an opportunity. If anything, what I see here is maybe, if we're lucky, for those people that want to sneak in here, we go AB, calling that CB. So that'll take us right down against these original lows. You know, probably if you really want to get in on the cheap, work your stink bids down against these areas in here, and look for some sort of capitulation dump here. I don't think I could justify really paying prices up here. That's a bit expensive. So, you know, that's sort of what I would think there. And also, too, if we just, you know, draw some simple trend lines. Right, so anywhere down in this area, and I think I might be very interested in being a buyer, especially against this tail right there. That looks like a really interesting level. So that's what I see there. And like I said, if anything, not a bad idea for you to try and keep yourself out of trouble. Try and hunt for these stories that have W's working. And, you know, if and when this thing does decide to get its act together, you can see that, you know, this thing's got a lot of upside potential. So you guys have heard me say in the past, wicks and tails like to be eaten, and how these candle bodies here are key levels. So notice these candle bodies right here, some tails. There's the reload short zone right up in there. So, you know, and if anything, this is an excellent analogy of relative risk. Do I know that this thing's going to perform? No, I haven't got a fucking clue. Nobody does. Nobody knows the future. Anybody who does tell you they know the future, I think they're full of horse shit. The question here is, if you go and spend 14713, what's it going to take for you to actually get yourself into a risk-free position going forward? Well, really what that implies is I need to see a test of 28, right there. And the interesting thing is, look how we have a nice little wick right there. And that high is 29. Oh, fucking A. So really what this is saying, and, you know, keep in mind, guys, we are statisticians. That's what we do. That's our job. So statistically, given the range of this asset, given the fact that this thing has actually sat down here for quite literally over a year, it's just parked itself here. What's statistically the odds of me actually just going in and risking, let's say like $1, right? I'll just go buy that level at 14, right? What are the odds of me going and buying, spending $1 on this thing, and me getting more than $1 back? Well, there's a double there. There's my next double there, like 50 something. All right, well, let's put it right under 60. There's another double on a move up into 120. We haven't even gotten to Mountain Man level yet. So in a weird sort of way, this becomes sort of relative risk versus relative reward. I don't know if this is a bottom. I don't know if it's a low. Even if I, you know, took a coin and flipped it in the air, 50-50 odds, this thing works, it doesn't. I think, you know, with the weekly bottom working, I think the odds are probably a little better than 50-50. Considering the market cap, what it might, you know, probably the biggest vulnerability this coin has is because it's only listed on one exchange. If Bittrex decides, hey, we've had enough of these jokers, we're done, then because of volume issues, then we could be in a bit of trouble. I actually haven't had that happen very often. I've bought now probably about 200-300 different cryptocurrencies. And on our Bittrex shit list right now, we've got, I think, about 15 to 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. So what that means is basically like you got a 1 in 10 shot of this thing dying. And what I also find too is quite often if a coin is listed on multiple exchanges and Bittrex decides to play some games and delisted, you often get a nice little pop on the other exchanges. And Kevin was here earlier. He's having a blast trading Cryptopia. I don't know whether any of you have been over on Cryptopia, but it's almost fun just to work your levels and see what happens. I get crazy fills there. And I just got filled on Yobit. Max coin, right? Max. Thanks. China Tim, did you enjoy our show today? Was it? Oh, he's gone. Oh, well. Hope he enjoyed it. So really at the end of the day, and now, Ian's over on Cryptopia now. Dun, dun, dun. Well, there goes that market. Thanks, Ian. Ian's going to just bid and ask all the shit out of that thing. But anyway, and Ian can really attest to this, right? There you are. Look at that. 0.000. If you just took 0.001 BTC and threw it at this thing, and the odds of it going back up into the reload zone here, or maybe like, 40, 50% toss of a coin, is it worth your while taking this bet? I think you have to take this fucking bet every day of the week. Just because if you're wrong, you lose your buck. Big fucking deal. If you're right, you make $1, $2, $3. 3 to 1 risk reward. If you walk down the street and some guy says, look, the odds of you winning this bet are 50-50, I'll give you 3 to 1 risk reward. You should take that bet every single day and does that make sense, guys? Like, that's how traders make money at trading. It's not, I'm looking to be right 100% of the time. It's if you are right, what is the realistic odds of you getting paid relatively more to what you're risking? That's how people make the big bucks in this game. And if anything, this is a really good, simple analogy where you can take the little old lady approach. You don't have to be risking a lot of money. You have yourself positioned in a name that has, in my opinion, a hell of a lot of upside potential. And you can get yourself into a risk-free position, zero risk to you from that point forward, with just simply a test of an area where this coin is actually traded to quite a bit in the past. So I don't mind this idea whatsoever. And hint, 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 if you ever see a bullish divergence in the on-balance volume, excuse me while I talk to my broker. Where's that Sean guy? All right. So if anything, that's probably not a bad note for us to leave this conversation on. And I think actually I was a buyer of this recently. It sounds familiar. Anyway. Hey, Thomas, how you doing there, Slick? You got some words of wisdom for these new people? I tell you, Thomas started working with me a couple of years ago. I would be more than happy to give Thomas $5,000 and say, Thomas, have some fun trading OKCoin, because he is one damn fine trader. Any fine words for these people? Do you feel like talking, or do you want to be listen to every word Brian says? Well, that doesn't help. All right. Anyway, thank you, Thomas, for popping in. And if you see him in the lounge, I would highly encourage you to befriend him. Very, very smart gentleman. Okay, I have no idea how long I've been talking. What do you think, guys? But I'll take the 5K. Yeah, but then you give it to your bear. I don't know. Did you guys enjoy this? Was this a fun conversation? Did anybody get any value out of this? I hope so. I mean, really, that's the whole purpose of this, right? It's, really, I want to try and help you guys. All right, that's good. Sean, what do you think? Is this worth your $30? If you get a dose of this once a day for an hour or so? Anyway, hopefully you see it's a value. I think the most important thing about trading with Brian is that you have to find it fun. Okay. Yeah. Too many strange noises from the presenter. Anyway, yeah. So as Thomas says, I like to have fun at this. You've got to see the humor in this, right? You know, Sean, you're a broker, right? Remember, our old broker was our old broker line was if you don't laugh, it'll make you cry. So you might as well laugh, right? So I like to have fun with this, and if you know my story, Sean, you know that I could get really serious really quickly here. But ironically enough, in this crazy life, it's actually a lot easier to try and laugh than to take it too seriously. So, okay, on those notes, and actually, you know, a big note, and I was even tweeting it out the other day. PMA for the win. Let's try and stay positive. Let's, you know, just, you know, try and approach this from a good karma perspective. We're here to help each other. There's really no motivation for us to take advantage of each other. It doesn't really serve anybody in the end. And I noticed that when we do help each other and it's good karma and this is a good experience, that karma comes back to you. You know, I am a firm believer in that. And the only I would say half of the reason why this site has done as well as it has is simply we're putting a lot of good karma out there in the world, and it's attracting. I always believe karma begets karma. So yeah, it may sound fun and laughy and maybe a little juvenile. Trust me, we can be as serious as you need to be. But I really am a big fan of the sort of positive mental attitude. Try and keep this lighthearted. So. Okay, on that note, why don't we call it a day? Hope you guys have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. I'm going to go hang out with the boy, maybe do some videos. We're getting closer. I think every single day we get another inch or two closer to Japan. So we'll probably be knocking on the Japanese door pretty soon. If you don't understand that joke, go onto the Facebook page and watch videos of Liam. So, all right, have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.